Now, one of your most passionate commitments has been to Australia finding security in the place where it lives in Asia. The Abbott government is concentrating its efforts on creating two very large free trade agreements with India and with China, and to do it very quickly. Is that part of establishing security? How are they getting that right, at least from your point of view?
I think they are getting that right. But as you know, this has been a very long-term policy, which has even stretched through the Gillard and Rudd governments. Trade agreements this time take a long time to do. No, this is all, I think, good in terms of our engagement with the region, our ability to trade in the region. But the psychological point that where do we find our security? Do we find our security in Asia or from Asia? I've always been in Asia camp. You find your security in Asia, not from Asia. And that fundamentally means having an Australian foreign policy which adapts to the realities of the region. And the realities of this region are we have a number of great powers: China, India, Indonesia, Japan, and we have a group of nations in the ASEAN bloc. And a country like Australia has to run a pragmatic policy of finding its interest and its security from those interests, rather than some sort of nostalgia for the Anglosphere, believing this is all a kind of aberrant development, and our real credentials and our real linkages are still in the Northern Hemisphere.
But you'll give some credit to the current government, to the Abbott government, for moving quickly in this direction. Narendra Modi, first Indian Prime Minister to visit Australia in many, many years, and he's going to address the House of Parliament here.
Good development.
Yeah.
I think it's good to see the Indians coming here. We've got a lot in common with India. Tony, I'm only interested in outcomes. I don't really care who does them. I didn't care who did them in the government I led, the one I was with Bob Hawke. I didn't care who did them as long as we did them, right? What I'm after is policies, but not nonsense. Policies actually get us somewhere, rather than vapid ideology.
Let's go to one of those policies. As you know, China's asked Australia to be a founding member of the Asian Infrastructure Development Bank. You mentioned that at the beginning of the interview. Under pressure from the United States, the Security Cabinet has decided to reject that offer. Is that a mistake or prudent judgment?
It was a shockingly bad decision. The worst decision this government has taken, I believe, was to, in international terms, was to refuse China's invitation for us to be a founding member and shareholder in this development bank, fundamentally investment bank. You hear these phrases like responsible stakeholders. You've had the United States saying we don't want China to go it alone, we don't want them to pick off individual states. So when the Chinese actually say, well, okay, we'll multilateralise ourselves, we'll invite the rest of you in at the founding, so you can shape the mores of this institution and the capital structure, we say, oh, no, we're not doing that, because we don't want to see the United States believe this is only going to make China more powerful in the region.
Well, I mean, that is the fear. The US fear and the Japanese fear is that this bank will be used to somehow leverage Chinese power. It'll be used in a way to kind of advertise power, and Australia would be part of that if it signed up to it.
Tony, I'm the chairman of the advisory board of China Development Bank. China Development Bank's balance sheet is 3 times the World Bank now. 3 times the World Bank. China could do all this development work itself from its own institution. It's putting the handcuffs on and it's multilateralising itself to do something good in international terms and to bring countries like us into it. This is our greatest trading partner, our greatest trading relationship. They propose a body which has not a non-strategic body, which is basically looking to cater to the infrastructure needs of developing Asia, China, India, Indonesia, Myanmar, all of Southeast Asia. To go beyond what the World Bank does, which is basically, of its essence, an anti-poverty institution. And we say no. I mean,
we're surprised that decision was taken by the Security Cabinet, not the Treasurer and the Finance Minister and so on.
That tells you something, doesn't it? It wasn't taken in the full Cabinet. I mean, ultimately adopted by the full Cabinet, but not taken in the broad economic, trade and security context, but in the of all places in the Security Committee of Cabinet. So, you know, if you know, you remember years ago Bob Zoellick said, we want China to be a responsible stakeholder. So China says, okay, I'll be a responsible stakeholder. What about this? We will capitalise a new development institution focused on infrastructure. We invite the rest of you as founding members to put in the capital. We say, too good for us, no. Too good for us, no.
I'm going to move on because we've got a little time left.
It is a bad decision of the worst kind.
Let's move on. After the tensions between Australia and Russia, Channel 7's reporting tonight